So a lot of people have been asking me recently about fasting and how to have a successful fast. I want to show you guys everything you need to know while you're going into this fast on how to succeed. It's all going to be based around your electrolytes. So welcome back to the channel. My name is Andrew Fillion, and today I'm showing you guys exactly how to make the ideal electrolyte balance for while you're fasting. You see, when you're fasting, your electrolyte balance can make or break your fast. If you're not on top of your electrolyte game, it's very easy to break your fast early, pull your parachute, and bail out. You don't have to do that if you've got really good electrolyte balance. So people have been asking me, well, exactly how do I do that? I'm going to show you guys in this video exactly what I'm taking and the exact measurements I'm using so you can do this for yourself. But I do want to throw out a little bit of caution. Everybody's situation's a little bit different based on activity level. This is not the holy Bible of fasting. This is just something to get you started. You will have to kind of play around with it yourself, and I'll explain later in the video what kind of situations you might run into that maybe you want to increase or decrease certain minerals. There's really 6 key ingredients to this electrolyte drink. First, we got mineral water, then we got sodium chloride, then we've got potassium chloride, magnesium sulfate, and these next 2 are optional. It's going to be citric acid, apple cider vinegar. It's got to have the mother in it. I'm going to break down why all 6 of these are going into the mason jar. I do think the mason jar makes this a lot easier. That way you can make a bunch of these all at once, stick them in your refrigerator, and then you're good to go. So first up, I'll cover the mineral water. I like to go with Evian. You can also get away with going with Fiji water. Now, the reason I'm going for these in particular is when you're fasting, you're going to really need a lot of minerals. And when you're drinking tap water, distilled water, or even water that's come from, like a filtering system like Brita, it's not going to have a whole lot of minerals in the water. So what ends up happening is while you're drinking it, it goes through the kidneys, but because there's no minerals in the water, it's basically water in, water out. And you're going to end up peeing a lot, especially on a fast. This is really bad because when we pee, we're peeing out minerals, which means you're going to be peeing out your electrolytes. We want to be getting some kind of mineral water. Evian's going to be one of my favorites. It's got a really good pH level. I think it's 7.2. Yeah, you can see that right there on the label, 7.2. Now, there's other things on here. It does have some trace minerals, but it's not enough for you to actually get your requirements on. So, for example, right here, we've got 1 milligram of potassium per liter. I'm going to cover in the video later how many milligrams you need. But if you're looking at the whiteboard, you should be able to tell that 1 milligram is not going to cut it. But what's important about this is that the water has enough minerals so that's not going to pass through your kidneys and just be peed right out. I like the Evian, the Fiji water. Fiji waters are another good option. If you somehow have access to spring water or well water, that's going to work great for you too. The key principle here is that you just want to have some kind of water that has natural sediment in it, and so like minerals and things like that. The next key ingredient is going to be sodium chloride. So what I like to do, I'll take the water, pour it into the mason jar up front. Every once in a while, the bottle's a little bit more than a liter, or if you've got 2, you got to pour in, 2 bottles of water. This way, we just go in there, look at that, a little bit off the top. I'll finish off the water. And there you have it. Water's been poured. So as you can see on here on the whiteboard, we're saying 1 teaspoon of sodium. I got my teaspoon here, right there, level it off, boom. That's in the jar. Sodium is going to be the most important of the minerals. That's going to be table salt. I'm using this Mediterranean sea salt. Some people go with pink salt. Some people go with Morton's table salt. It really doesn't matter. It's all sodium chloride. So you really want to be targeting 2 grams of sodium per liter of water. And if you look at the label here, you'll see 1/4 teaspoon is 480 milligrams. So if we do a teaspoon, you're getting really close to 2 grams. I'll round it up, especially because the crystals go a little bit above the thing. I'm getting a little too in the weeds on that one, but just remember 2 grams of salt for every liter. So if you're having 1 liter of water, that's 2 grams. 2 liters of water is 4. That gets especially important as we get further in the video. I'll explain People that are highly active do need more electrolytes per day, but it's actually important that if you're sedentary that you don't overdo the water. We'll get into that a bit later. So we've done our sea salt. Next up, the second most important is going to be potassium chloride. So potassium chloride is the complement to sodium. They're kind of like Mario and Luigi. You really can't have one without the other. I like to start out with just a 1/4 teaspoon of the potassium chloride. So with this, if you start experiencing any negative symptoms, we're talking about things like cramps, muscle aches, brain fog, things like that, do not panic. It could just be that your potassium isn't keeping up with the sodium. If that's the case, on your next jar, simply put in an extra teaspoon. And with that, you're going to be able to catch yourself up. It is important with potassium that we don't want to overdo it. Now with salt, we can go, basically indefinitely. As long as you're drinking water, you want to have at least 2 grams of sodium. But that's not actually true with the potassium. At potassium, we really want to peak off at around 5 grams no matter what. So if you look at the label here, we've got 360 milligrams per eighth of a tablespoon on this label. Well, I just did 1/4. You kind of round that up. That's about 700. Now, if you do just a little bit more, like I showed you, that's how you get to 1 gram. If I have 2 of these in one day, I'm only looking at about 2 grams of potassium, so I could go higher, but I don't like to go higher right off the bat. I like to start low and then go higher, so I'm just going to add just a tiny bit more because it wasn't level when I originally poured it. So that's your 2 most important ingredients, the salt and potassium. As long as you've got these 2, you can fast for really, really long periods of time and feel just fine. But we got some other ingredients here I think are going to really go a long way for you guys. The next one up is going to be magnesium sulfate. Now, this is also known as Epsom salt. What's really important about this is that if you're going to be ingesting it, you want to be getting what's called food grade Epsom salt, which means you can't just go and buy the Dr. Teal's stuff. You do got to go and get at least a food grade Epsom salt that is dissolvable in water and is important. Most important is digestible. You want digestible magnesium. Otherwise, you're going to be spending a lot of time in the bathroom, which could, in a funny way, could serve its own purpose if you were, really backed up. One way or another, magnesium does help with that, but overdoing it with the non-digestible magnesium kind of like accelerates that even more. But anyways, this is going to go a long way at helping you prevent cramps. It's also going to help you get to bed at night, which is really important while you're fasting, because when you're fasting, your heart rate is going to be a lot higher. But if we get a little bit of magnesium in, especially before bed, it's going to help us just get to sleep, get to cruising. With fasting, a lot of the times people are actually able to get through the whole day. It's when they're laying in bed at night trying to go to sleep that they end up breaking their fasts, either because they're getting heart palpitations, they can't sleep because their heart rate's too high, and it's almost never actually the hunger that makes you break a fast. So if we just stock up on some magnesium, you don't have to go as hard with the magnesium. 1 or 2 grams a day is fine. This will help you, especially at night, with some of the nasty side effects that you can have from electrolyte imbalance. So with that, those are the 3 minerals. We're going to be moving on next to lemon juice. So lemon juice is going to have citric acid, which is what we want. The citric acid helps with the sodium in creating electrolytes. So think of it as kind of like a shuttle. As far as the lemon juice goes, you can kind of eyeball it. It's not as important as the minerals. You really cannot overdo the lemon juice. So I always tell people you could have unlimited lemon juice. It's better to have too much than not enough. So I'll just pour this in the jar liberally. I'm not actually measuring it, even though I've got down here it says to have 1 to 2 tablespoons. You really don't have to measure it too much. And the one nice thing about the lemon juice is that it does add flavor to the drink. Now, when you're fasting, especially if you're doing a fast for detox purposes, which means no coffee, no artificial sweeteners, nothing like that, having a little bit of lemon juice goes a long way at just kind of keeping some of those like cravings at bay. You know, it's not necessarily like you need it, but like if this is the only thing with flavor that you're having, may as well have a little bit there. Now, I do want to say this is actually organic lemon juice I got from Costco. It doesn't have to be from Costco, but that's one of the stores I know of that does have organic lemon juice. I'm going to show you another option. You're going to see a lot of these in grocery stores, not just this brand, but like basically any cheap lemon juice. You're going to see it has essential oil of lemon in the ingredients. And if I get this thing close enough to you guys, you should be able to see right there, it says lemon oil. It's not the end of the world, but the lemon oil is some kind of like ambiguous and additive. It's just simply not as good as the organic lemon juice. So there's a reason why this is going to be so much cheaper, but at the end of the day, it's still lemon juice. So if it's what's available, don't think like, oh, I can't use it because it's not organic. I just like to have the highest quality ingredients. This is kind of the way I am. So I'm going to advocate going with the organic, but it's not mandatory. What is mandatory when it comes to the apple cider vinegar, you got to have that mother on the label. If it doesn't say the mother, you're getting really cheap stuff that's basically just white vinegar with like a little bit of brown coloring to it. You want to be able to get this organic stuff. You can find it anywhere. Any health goods store these days has apple cider vinegar. They'll probably even have multiple brands. When I was growing up, they had Bragg and that was it. But now you go there and they've got like 7 or 8 different ones. Just make sure it's got the mother and typically they're going to say organic, but you would never find one that has the mother that doesn't say organic. Let's put it that way. So there you guys have it. With these 6 ingredients, we've now got our mason jar, 1 liter mason jar filled with electrolytes. I'm going to shake this up, get it nice and stirred up. You're going to see a lot of sediment at the bottom. That's kind of why I like doing this in a mason jar. You get a really tight seal. You can shake it up, and I feel like it just works better than pouring it straight into the bottle of water. Like I got this Evian down here. I could have done that. I could have put it in the bottle. It's not like it changes anything. It's just easier to get the tablespoons into a mason jar. It's literally it. It's the only reason. The other thing I do like about the mason jar is because of its like wide mouth lid. It's just easy to drink, easy to mix, and it's glass. If you're like a paranoid about plastics, so you don't have any problems there. It's not really the worst tasting drink. I know that a lot of people are going to have like a rude awakening the first time they have this. They're going to say, wow, this doesn't taste good. But trust me, when you get used to fasting and you realize what this is capable of doing for you, you start to actually appreciate the flavor. You start to actually want it because you know you're going to feel really good after this. And trust me, when you're doing long fasts, you are burning body fat like crazy. So when all of these things start to come together, it's like, man, I wish I knew about this stuff sooner. And the flavor of this stuff is not going to bother you as much. All right. Now let's talk about dosing. We've got enough here for 1 liter of electrolytes, but how much do you really need? It's all going to depend on your activity level. So if you live a sedentary lifestyle, you can cap out at 2 liters. That's going to be all that you really need. 2 liters for someone that's sedentary. That means you're not really exercising. You're just fasting to fast for health benefits or to lose body fat slowly. If you are like me and you're in the active box or you're an athlete, you want to have 3 liters per day. If you're an endurance athlete, we're talking about marathons, long distance biking, anything of that nature where you're active for multiple hours at a time, then you want to go to 4. You just want to make sure when you're doing 4 that you're not overdoing it on the magnesium or the potassium. You really only need about 2 grams of magnesium per day. Anything above that's going to be overkill. Potassium, you want to cap off at around 5 grams. So if you're making 4 liters at just 1 gram of potassium, you're still going to be under that 5 gram limit. So you're good. But like I said before, if you feel like you're getting side effects of electrolyte imbalance despite the fact that you're drinking your juice, you want to make sure that you add just a little bit more potassium. Keep the salt where it is. The sodium is fine, but don't go over 5 grams of potassium. So this is especially important for endurance athletes that are going to be taking in a little bit more. If you're living this sedentary lifestyle, you're not coming anywhere near that 5 grams, so like it's not even something to worry about. But it's one of those things where if you are physically active, you're gonna have to kind of figure some of this out on your own, just a little bit, right? You gotta experiment with what works, what doesn't work. Find your own level, because we're all working out in different ways and at different capacities. What I'm doing for me is gonna be different from what you need to do. So I can't exactly come on here and say, have this exact amount. I'm just showing you guys the recipe. Now guys, this has probably been one of my most important videos. So if this is your first time on my channel, it would really help me out if you hit the like button on this video and also subscribe to the channel. I have another video which you can click right down here. In fact, right click it, open it in a new tab. This will get you to the video that explains why fasting is so incredible. Not going to really go on to that into this one, but that video will break everything down on why you should be fasting, and fast as much as you can. I'm fasting as I make this video. So do all of that. I know I just threw a lot at you guys, but just remember to subscribe to the channel. That helps me out so much. And I really want to help you guys because I want to get the word out on fasting. So everybody is helping each other out here. With that, guys, I'm going to leave the video here today. In the comments, if you have trouble with any of this stuff, talk to me. I'm here to help. I've done so many fasts that I've kind of identified where all the different pitfalls are. If you feel yourself hitting the pitfall, leave me a comment and I will try to diagnose it so that you don't have to bail out of your fast. Because the longer you can fast, the more success you're going to see. So with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. This jar is leaking from something. Or I just keep spilling.